Hello, everyone. Welcome to Love That Lasts, the relationship podcast sponsored by the ACU Faulkner Center for Marriage and Family. Today, I'm super excited to be visiting with a couple, CJ and Samantha Luckey, and together we're going to be exploring things about marriage as we discuss today. CJ is a motivational speaker, hip-hop artist, and pastor who inspires students through his music, storytelling, and positive messaging. As the founder of the C.A.P.S program, he encourages young people to persevere, to overcome challenges, and to believe in themselves. And his beautiful wife, Samantha, is a passionate educator with 11 years of experience dedicated to helping students to grow academically and personally. She loves ministry, serving others, and creating meaningful connections as she focuses on her faith, her family, and having fun as she does it all. So I am so excited to have the Luckeys here today. This episode is entitled Lucky in Love, which is intended to kind of really pull on that phrase, right? But also as a nod to your last name, Luckey. Mm-hmm. But I want to tell our listeners, this is no luck, right? You both have a very intentional, inspiring, and very goal-oriented and faith-oriented relationship. So I'm delighted that you said yes, that you were sitting down today here in Abilene visiting about relationships. So welcome to the podcast, CJ and Sam. So glad to have you. Yeah, absolutely. So as we kind of set the conversation for today around marriage and building a love that lasts as followers of Jesus, why don't you tell our listeners just a little bit more about your story, just a little brief intro that kind of says something about, you know, how you met and what drew you to each other. You want to start, CJ?
Yeah. So we met in college. Actually, the first time we seen each other, Samantha was a senior in high school.
Okay.
And she was on her preview day, and I was actually talking to my future in-laws, just didn't know at the time. But the first time we actually met and got to have a conversation was in the middle of Main Street where we went to college. And so it's been a blessing and a beautiful journey ever since then.
Absolutely. I was determined in college to not date anyone. I was going to go play basketball, get my degree, come back home, teach, and save the world, you know, as every young teacher thinks.
Yes.
And then those plans were interrupted intentionally by CJ. One thing I learned, I didn't know it then, but now, when CJ makes up his mind to go for something, he is not stopping until he achieves that. And
he's determined.
He's very determined. So, yes.
I love that. Mm-hmm. Was it an instant connection? I mean, the chemistry, the attraction, the interest?
Yes, absolutely. So Samantha is beautiful, you know, she's beautiful. And, when I seen, she was actually crossing the street with her friends.
That sounds like a movie moment.
Yeah, it felt like it. Absolutely. Yes.
It felt like it. And so she was crossing the street with her friends, and she caught my eye. And, I ended up, just small conversation. And I ended up hanging out with her and her friends and invited some of my friends. So just like a group hangout. But it was attraction at first. I was like, man, who is she? And so I'm thankful for, that middle of the street meeting.
Absolutely.
And as we say, shooting our shot,
Yes.
So, and here we are.
And CJ has always been a charmer, and he is a smooth talker in all the best ways. And so I kind of was intimidated at first. And I was like, who is this guy? I don't know. And nothing rocked him, no nerves that I had. He just was consistent.
Solid.
Oh my gosh, consistent, persistent, and was very calm. And I appreciated that. But he is one of the most fun-loving and just joyful people that I know. And so it was evident then, but he just was consistent and did not give up. So.
For sure. Now, I didn't look like I do now.
Oh,
yes,
really?
I was going to leave
Yes,
that out.
Well,
this is our love story.
Yes.
This is our love story.
It was a little bit more, so I'm from West Texas. We just have a lot of cowboys and that kind of thing. And CJ had really baggy shorts and slits in his eyebrows, and hats and all the things, which he wears hats now, but it was just different. Think like 2010s college kid. Okay,
I'm getting the vibe.
If you can picture that.
Yep.
And so I was like, this is not like, just looks wise, as I feel like we all do. And this is not my kind of like who I'm looking for, even though I thought he was cute, but his personality is just so attractive. It's just electric and magnetic. And I was like, okay, I'm having a great time. Every time we're together, he's fun, he's thoughtful, ultra romantic.
Wonderful.
Ultra romantic.
Kudos
oh my
there.
Gosh, I know.
Kudos, CJ.
If we have time at the end, I don't know. The way he asked me to be his girlfriend was, this is how I should have known, right? That he was an over-the-top romantic. He wrote me a song, and I lived on the 3rd story of our dorm. Okay, so I get back from basketball practice. I have a twin sister who's my best friend. We were roommates, and she goes, hey, CJ, drop this off for us to listen to. And so some of my other teammates came in, and we were all listening to it, but it was all this like compilation of all the times that we had spent together and just things that he noticed about me, right? So we're listening to the song, and I'm like, oh, this is so sweet. And at the end, he was like, I have one question. Will you be my girlfriend? And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so sweet. But we went to a Christian college, and it was a boys' dorm, girls' dorm.
Right.
They were not mixed. And so I was like, where is he? I'm on the 3rd floor. My sister says, hey, go look out of the window. And he is standing outside of my window at the bottom with a handful of roses with all of his friends, who are now our very dear friends, waiting for my reply.
This is just to ask her to be your girlfriend.
That's it, yes.
I dare say what the engagement looked like.
Oh my gosh, we don't have enough time for that. Yeah.
So this beautiful unfolding of meeting, attracted to one another, getting to know each other, seeing these qualities, starting to date. I'm curious though, at what point did you realize this relationship was turning more serious? When was that for you, CJ?
Yeah, so for me, and Samantha knows this, I put her through some tests. I just wanted to see if, she would be in it for the long haul, and that it just wasn't a college relationship. And so I remember telling Samantha, I was like, hey, God has a call on my life to be in ministry. And I don't know what that type of ministry will be, but you will be very much a part of that ministry. And I just need to know, while we're here in college. And at this time, we had been dating about 2.5 years. And I said, I just need to know, will you be with me for the long haul? Because I got you, you got me, and God, he got us. And so, and she was like, yeah. And
okay, but the thing that I loved him, and I was ready to get married. I was like, that's fine, we can do whatever, because what 20-year-old is thinking about the type of ministry that we've gotten to do now.
Sure.
And I think that really that's the Lord protecting me. Like, he created me, right? He knows me. If he would have given me any insight to what we have done and are doing today in our lives, I probably would have been like, oh, no, thank you, Lord. I do not want to do that. And so it was great. Now I look back and it's humorous to me.
Sure.
And I'm thankful of how gracious God is to us.
Absolutely.
Because he orchestrated that in my little 20-year-old mind. I thought, that's great. I'll marry you. We can do whatever. And that it has saved me, but it's been grounding for me this entire time in our marriage too, to know he has had us from the beginning.
Well said.
And it whatever we do, whatever crazy thing CJ comes home and says, hey, we're going to jump in and do this, that is fine. The Lord has us. And so that's kind of been my mindset. But
I love that. I mean, it's a faith in God, but a faith in him too.
Absolutely.
As you hear these things from him. One of the things I do at ACU, I teach a relationship class, and we talk a lot about just the intentionality around if you're going to date, and this notion of preparation and choice. One of the things I think about with what you said, CJ, with maybe the test or the question you asked Sam, was really kind of important, because you had these goals, these dreams, these callings in your life, and it was important to figure out, is this someone that also would be interested and willing to do that with you, right? And to bring that out into the open, to talk, because so much better to talk about that than to ignore the conversation and to realize that you're misaligned with your goals or your calling. So I love the fact that you were really intentional to bring that question out, and start talking about it. As you think about your relationship progressing, you moved, obviously she said yes to start dating you. She said yes to getting married, and you're building this beautiful marriage. But I'm curious, what do you think in that phase of dating, getting engaged, looking towards marriage, what do you think really helped to lay the foundation for your marriage even before you were married?
So, Heidi, Samantha and I are really, really good friends. You can put Samantha and I in a padded room and just give us some food, no windows, no light. We're good. We're fine. Conversation. We laugh together. We have inside jokes. Like, I really enjoy Samantha's company. She is one of the people that I love to just be with, and I'm able to, of course, be myself, and she knows me better than, anybody else knows me. But the foundation was the fact that we could be friends. And it started there. Actually, even before we dated, I did, it's an old school term, but courtship. I courted Samantha first before we started dating. I wanted her to be comfortable around me. Again, she mentioned earlier I had slits in my eyebrows and all the things. I didn't look like I do today. But our friendship was the foundation of our relationship, knowing that she was a follower of Christ, I was a follower of Christ, and we wanted to bring Christ glory and honor through our relationship. But to start out as friends helped us build what we have today.
I love that. How about for you, Sam? What do you think kind of really made a foundation for you all leading into marriage?
I absolutely think, like CJ said, us having that friendship. And I think that the determination that we were not going to stray from what the Lord had for us, that before anything, he is my brother in Christ and I'm his sister in Christ, and we're called to do whatever the Lord has asked us to do. And I also think having great mentorship and great friends that were in the thick of it kind of with us, but we had some older friends that were just wise and would give us great godly wisdom, but practical wisdom too. That's what kids need. We were just kids. We have been dating / married since I was 18. So I was I feel like a kid myself.
Right. Just growing up.
Yes,
right.
Growing up and learning. And so having their wisdom as a foundation and biblical wisdom as well, I feel like helped. And just being able to communicate well. We're both really determined and can have some strong-willedness within us, but being able to know early how we can work with each other, and that helped as well. So
I think those are such good points that you're making, because for some of our listeners that may be in that dating phase or thinking about someday wanting to get married, you're bringing out, I think, some important things to consider. One, this friendship, right?
Yes.
What does it mean to be a good friend? What are the qualities of good friend? Well, that should carry over even into a romantic, dating, marital relationship,
Absolutely.
right? And what I heard you say, Sam, equally too, is obviously your faith was so foundational. You shared that perspective. Doesn't mean you have to be eye to eye on everything,
right,
but a solidness in a faith walk with Jesus. And then this beautiful aspect about community. Who
Yes.
around you is supporting you, who around you is encouraging you, who around you is a model, right? Because healthy relationships should not be built in isolation.
Absolutely.
We need people around us to have examples to talk to give us feedback. So really great points. So you guys have been married now for how long?
It'll be 14 years this year.
14 years.
We've been together for 18
Very
years.
good.
Yeah.
It sounds that's so long.
Yeah.
That's so short.
You're
too,
just
because
getting going
I know
now.
we
You're
are.
just
Well, I
getting
still
going.
feel like we're kids.
Yeah.
So
We are.
Well,
still
you kind of
kids.
grown up together, but I
Yes.
do love that. Okay, so as you've been now in this period of marriage for several years, what are these intentional habits that maybe you see yourself doing that are helping to strengthen your marriage over these years? What might be some of those habits you could share with our listeners?
Well, early on, I think we had a really consistent date night, and that was
Okay.
advice we had received, just over and over, have a consistent date night. And then as we have been into the throes of ministry and parenthood, consistent date nights honestly aren't that realistic for us. And so at the beginning, I was like, well, we have to have this balance of we've got to have this kind of like a checklist. And really the Lord's been teaching me about rhythm. And then some seasons are going to be a slower rhythm and you're going to have more time. And sometimes it's a really fast rhythm, and the small intentional things like, having a show that we watch together, or getting up just a few minutes before our kids do to sit together and just kind of debrief. Or really, CJ is a night owl, so a lot of that happens at night. And so we'll sit up at night and just talk and reconnect, but we pretty much do that every night, decide on a show or some way that we're coming back together at the end of our day, even if it's for 5 minutes. Obviously we would love for it to be longer than that, but that's not always what time gives us,
Yeah,
right?
but they're touch points is what
Yes,
you're talking
absolutely,
about. Right.
Yes, those touch points. And then, spending intentional time if we can go on a day date, if our kids are busy, just looking for those pockets of time that say, okay, instead of me going home and taking a nap or whatever, can we meet and get coffee just really quick while we're in the middle of our day?
Yeah. And I hear that intentionality coming
Yes.
in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And yeah, it's wonderful when you can do the dates,
Yes.
right? If you can
Yeah.
do the trip, go for it.
Mm-hmm.
But again, real life is lived often in just the ordinary moments.
Absolutely.
When we're raising kids, if you've got
Yes.
kids, you're doing the dirty laundry,
Yes.
you're
Yeah.
trying to figure out what are we going to eat. But when you can have the touch points,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day or at the beginning of the day or something in the middle of the day where you text each other. But those moments matter, right?
Absolutely.
They're formative in your
Very.
relationship. Good.
And I think that those really are foundational for us, because as I'm thinking, we've taken students to camp for the last 10 summers, I don't know, and there's not a lot of sleep that happens at summer
Right.
camp when you're in charge, but even still, I can't remember one camp that we've done together that we haven't had those touch points. Like, or it might be we've got to go round up kids that snuck off, but at least we're in the golf cart together and we're going and we have 5 minutes to talk before we go grab them or something like that. So
I love that. I'm curious, CJ, when you think about your relationship with Sam, how has your relationship with Jesus shaped the way you love her?
That's a good question. So when I think about our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, I think about Jesus being the very essence of who love is. And love is an action, it's a verb, but love will always leave evidence that it was present. And so for me, towards Samantha, and having that foundational relationship with Christ, to know that we have two beautiful daughters, Olivia Joy and Harper Love, shout out to them, but to know I get to show them the love of Jesus by the way that I love Samantha.
Oh, that's good.
And so that's important for me. But also, again, I mentioned earlier, love is an action. It's a verb, but it will always leave evidence that it was present. And the touch points you mentioned, I would bring, Samantha, her brown sugar shaken espresso, with oat milk from Starbucks.
Well done.
And a, banana nut loaf bread that's warmed up.
That's right.
Or her favorite 7 Brew drink, and just drop it off with some roses maybe or some flowers. She loves fresh flowers. And
She
so I
did
would
say you were romantic.
Yes.
I hear that
Yes.
coming out here.
So I would drop those off. It's not only a touch point, but I want her to be seen and to know that she's seen and she's loved. Now, of course, Samantha doesn't require all of that, but for me to let her know, hey, I'm thinking about you, I love you, and I want to show and express that because it's an action, but it will always leave evidence that it was present. And so that would be for me, just making sure that she knows she's seen, she's loved, she's cherished, treasured still. I call her my diamond girl because she's the one that I put the rock on.
Right.
And so, but she shines bright like a diamond, and I want to make sure that she know that every day that we're married.
I hear a little bit of that hip hop coming
A
out of
little
you,
bit,
even as you
yeah,
start talking
yeah.
about the
Uh-huh.
diamond. Yeah, all right. You put a
Yeah.
ring on her finger, all this,
Uh-huh.
right? That's beautiful. I love this. I love how you said that, CJ, that, love is going to leave evidence, right? It leaves something behind. It says, I was here, right? And in a culture that oftentimes I think we have a really distorted view of love,
Absolutely.
right? As, yes, there's feeling involved, but I really think we kind of get it wrong when we think about love only as an emotion, because often then what it seems to do is it captures love about how we feel.
Yes.
What do I get from love, right? What am I doing and how do I feel? I love feeling love, right? But when you talk about love in this, it's action oriented. It leaves evidence that it's there. It's letting your wife be seen to feel your love, but also you model that to your daughters. That is intentional because the way of Jesus, he was one that showed action, right? He let love be left wherever he went. He made those deposits. So I think that's wonderful. Sam, I'm curious for you, what might sacrificial love look like as you think about your love story with CJ?
When I think of sacrificial love, sometimes I think we get this wrong too, that sacrifice means suffrage. And it is not. When I'm sacrificing, using that, or not using that, but like walking sacrificial love out with CJ, I'm not suffering. It's not like I'm this woe is me woman that's just like, it's not that. that I don't feel like the Lord wants me to suffer as I sacrifice. Because really, when I look at it, it's me sacrificing my time with him, because he goes out and he's impacting, students, and he's traveling and he's doing all those things. So I'm sacrificing my time. But early on, when he established C.A.P.S and we were in ministry, I decided with the Lord, I'm not going to be a woe is me. I'm not going to suffer. It's not going to be painful for me to send my husband out into the world, but I'm going to make it up in my mind that I'm going to have a great time. And I'm going to show our girls, like, when you are obedient to the Lord, that's truly all that matters. And you can still have fun in your sacrifice.
Absolutely.
So when he's gone, we are doing girls' nights, and we're going to eat all the food he doesn't like. So we eat a lot of sushi. But, I want them to see, like, okay, and then when he gets back home, we're so glad that he's back. And,
Right.
I don't have to check any locks and doors, and I can sleep in peace. But so I've just made it up in my mind that I can still have joy in those sacrificial times where I send him out into the world and I'm not having that time. But I really, that's it. The time, sorry, my brain's kind of like,
You got it.
But sacrificing the time is really the biggest thing.
Yeah, well, because he has a career that
Yes.
sends him places. And so
Yes.
it means that you are having to take on some extra things at home as he's doing that. The thing that I think is beautiful as you describe it is your attitude in it, right? It's not kind of like begrudgingly.
Yes,
But
no.
you see that, by him having to go and do work and ministry and sometimes being gone from you all, that you do that with a joyful spirit.
Yes.
And the beautiful thing about sacrifice, as I hear both of you talk, is that when both people are leaning into this,
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely.
it's mutually beneficial.
That's true.
Right? As you make sacrifices for his work or the things that he's doing, Sam, CJ, you're doing also back to her. Like
Yes, ma'am.
the things that you want to do with your time and energy to let her be seen and loved. And there's just kind of this beautiful reciprocity
It is.
in couple dynamics. When we give that to each other, we actually get so much more.
That's true.
Yes.
Through the process.
I
Yes,
agree with
ma'am.
that.
It's beautiful. Okay, so one of the things that I think makes your story so lovely and unique is the fact that there's some musical pieces to this,
Yeah.
and this is giving a little nod to CJ's, hip hop side. And word on the street is that you have created some raps over the years about your love for Sam. And I was just curious if you might be willing to share something with our listeners as a way to kind of express some love to your wife.
Yeah, for sure. I have written many songs about Samantha and my love for her, so I would be honored to share something. Look, I promise to remain the same man that you met. Anniversaries, birthdays, I never plan to forget. I got a woman with some class and she demanded respect. I know if I let her go, I'll be in the land of regret, because even as my girlfriend, she always been wifey. I was cool with your pops, but Uncle Frank, he didn't like me. Hey, Mr. Graves, I admit I put your daughter through tests, and I apologize, sir, because I can't barbecue yet. I gave my heart a new chest. Girl, I place it in yours. And the fact that you're my wife now, I'm praising the Lord. They say he that finds a wife surely finds a good thing. So I made sure your diamond shine buying a new ring. It's no denying you're my queen. You're my girl, that's a fact. You make me feel stronger, darling, when the world on my back. And we gonna travel a map. Trust me, baby, it's true. And the last thing I ever do is change up on you. Yeah, that's it.
Oh,
Yeah.
well done, my friend. Well done.
On the spot.
On the spot?
Yeah, on the spot.
Yeah, the artistic stuff coming out of you just
Man.
flows. Oh, man. I mean, I'm sure you have received different versions and things like that, but my goodness, what goes through you when you hear him express love like that to you, Sam?
That it's such a sweet thing for me, because he's got such a way with words, but the way I have seen him write over the years and intentionally put thought and prayer and just wisdom behind his words. I know that it's not just a flippant thought in his head, like, oh, this sounds good or this rhymes. I don't know how to write music, so that's how I would write it. So
I don't
thank
either.
God, okay, that we're not depending on me for that. But I know how much intentionality and love goes into his music, and how much it's not just every song has intent and purpose, every song that he has ever done. And so knowing that, it makes them all the more special to me, because I know that it's not just for clout. These are his true like feelings, and you know, he's great at expressing that even without a song. But I love that I can listen back from all the way when he asked me to be his girlfriend until now.
I love it.
Really, you can kind of see our relationship story in his music.
That's
too.
true.
That's a good point.
And it's a fun thing to look back on in some of the more difficult times that we've had. You know, you can kind of see that like wrestling with us being intentional about staying together and about, you know, keeping Christ at the center of our marriage, and then the joyous times and, you know, the songs for our girls and those kind of things. So they make me tear up every time. I really kind of sometimes am a back seat concert girl, like I'm running merch or like, you know, back in the scenes. And so whenever he does those for me, I just can stop for a second and enjoy. It feels like I'm the only one in the room.
Yeah. Lovely. Oh, I love it. Okay. What a treat for our listeners right here.
Ma'am.
Just a little mini rap to share your love. It's beautiful. You know, as you've talked about so many things about early stages of meeting and your love story beginning and now 14 years into your marriage, you know, I'm thinking kind of from the listener's perspective where people may be at different seasons in their own lives and marriages. And obviously, as we listen to you, you have such an intentional, beautiful love story. And when someone hears stories like that, they may think, man, that couple has everything going for them. What could be wrong? My marriage doesn't live up to that intentionality. One of the things that I think is so important about our podcast, Love That Lasts, is really shining the light on there's no perfect marriage.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
Even for those who love Jesus and are following Jesus, marriage has seasons of challenge, right? And I think we need to talk about that, because when we don't, we kind of send a message that everybody has it together.
Yes.
And that's not the case.
Not at
Every
all.
marriage is going to have seasons, ups and downs. That's part of what life brings. But the importance is, and our mission with this podcast is, you know, how do we work through that? How do we not, if we are struggling, struggle alone or struggle in silence? And to even normalize sometimes difficult seasons that we go through, right? So I'm just curious, what season of marriage for you all maybe has stretched you the most?
That's a really good question. We've had multiple.
I know. It's hard to narrow it down to just one. And I love that that's the point that you just made about no marriage is perfect. And so you're getting our highlights and the love, but there are so many moments that I can think back on that have been difficult for us, whether it be, I mean, really even CJ's call into ministry at the beginning, for me as a wife, watching him wrestle with this tension of, I need to provide, but I feel like God is asking me to do this. And if I step out from this job and into this step of faith in a pastoral role, what will our finances look like? You know, all of those internal wrestlings that he's trying not to disappoint me, and I'm trying to prayerfully support him, because it's better. One thing I have learned, it's better for CJ to be in the will of the Lord and be obedient than any amount of money on the earth. Like, if he is doing what the Lord has asked him to do, everything else in our house works fine. As soon as he's not, I'm like, what are you doing that we need to pray about? But that was a hard season for me to watch him transition. And I think ministry in itself is hard. It's glamorized a lot, I think, on social media, that it's this fun and exciting, flashy thing. And really, when you're in the nitty gritty of life with people and you're living in community, it's not flashy and it's not pretty, and it's very rewarding but very difficult.
Yes.
And so learning,
and there's not a timetable. It's not like an 8 to 5 job, right?
No.
Right.
It is full time in the trenches. And that was a hard season. We've had just a few rough spots in our ministry life together that it was really just he and I linked arm in arm, battling it out in the spirit.
Absolutely. And Heidi, even hearing my wife, Samantha, my wife, my diamond girl, as I mentioned earlier, she is the most selfless person that I've ever met. And I'm thankful for the special measure of grace that God has placed on her life to be married to this guy, as crazy as I am, a category 5 right here, you know, hurricane. And, but also, you know, as she talks about battling in the trenches, you know, and in those seasons where we're not seeing eye to eye, it could seem like we're like this. But in reality, we're like this, back to back.
Right.
You know, it's
You're
like I got
booing
your
each other.
yes,
I got your back. Right.
I got your back, you got my back, and it's you and I against the world. And I think that's a good perspective shift when it comes to the trenches of ministry or the trials and tribulations of marriage and life and, you know, raising kids and doing all the things. It's just a reminder, a constant reminder that, listen, it is not you and I against each other.
Right.
Right.
It is you and I have your back, you have my back, and we're fighting back to back. You know, and so it like I said, it's a good reminder, and it brings us back to the place we need to be to know that we're in this together.
Yeah, that's really good. That analogy of like, I have your back, right? I'm not turning my back on you, but it's like I'm helping to support, buoy you up. We're in this. We're a team,
Absolutely.
right? Because sometimes in seasons of difficulty, it's really easy for couples to turn on each other,
Yes.
right? And it becomes more of like, I kind of use sometimes with my counseling couples when they're in really hard places in their relationship, that it kind of becomes like a boxing ring, right? You see your spouse as your opponent.
Yeah.
If you're not eye to eye on something, or you're feeling like, you know, there's just some important needs not being met in the relationship. And it's easy sometimes for people to turn on each other. I think what you're bringing out, though, is just this beautiful reminder of you've got to keep perspective,
Yes.
right? That you, not only are you married, but you are really approaching marriage from the perspective of we're doing this together. And we're stronger together, right? We advocate for each other.
That's
We
right.
support each other. We have each other's back.
That's right.
When you guys handle conflict, like, you know, maybe you don't see eye to eye on something, how do you typically handle that when maybe emotions could be a little bit, you know, high?
And I do think we get there. I mean, with life as you live and you know, grow, and we're parenting and we're in ministry, it's not just a calm time for us. Neither one of us are wired that way. CJ has energy for days, and I am very determined and strong-willed. You know, in the classroom, you can't just let kids tell you what to do all day. And so I don't always do well if, you know, with that, but reminding each other, one, hey, like, we chose each other,
Right.
we love each other,
Right.
we're on the same team. And sometimes I have to physically say that out loud. I have to
Okay.
remember that I chose to marry him. Remember, I do love him. Lord, this is your child. You know what I mean? And my prayers. And really, my relationship with Christ has grown, oh my gosh, just tremendously by being married, because that is what I lean on when I am frustrated with CJ, because it happens. You know, we don't agree and whatever. So really, I will tell him, hey, I can feel it within myself, right? I know my own triggers. I know it's going to send me over the edge after doing, you know, just years of internal work and just knowing myself, which it's my job to do that, right? But knowing when I am about to get to that level, the point of no return, I say, hey, I'm about to get to this point of no return. It's really important that we take a break right now.
Good point.
And that we, go our separate ways. I need to go on a walk. I need to go take a drive. I need to lay down and stare at the ceiling, whatever. And I'm very good about telling him, like, hey, I'm getting super frustrated, or when you said this makes me feel like that. So really knowing that open communication isn't to be offensive. It's for us
clarity.
So that he knows exactly. He tells me all the time, I can't read your mind. I know, brother. Okay. Like, I know you can't. So I am tried to remember that and just tell him exactly. Even though I know he can see that I am about to blow a gasket, I still tell him I'm very, I'm very upset. So I try to tell him, and then he's great. If I say I need time, he will just stop. He will drop
and
it.
honor it.
Yes. We'll put a pin in it. And usually we both need time anyway, and we will come back together. And usually at night, because that's when kids are in bed and we have our time, and that's one of our natural built-in touch points anyway,
right?
That we can come back and say, okay, I was really frustrated, or I'll usually tell him I was really hungry and I was hot and I was mad, and these, now I'm ready to talk to you about these things that we can.
That's so practical, Sam.
Yes.
I'm just thinking about from the listener's perspective is that all of us get to those places where, you're frazzled, you're tired, you're exhausted, the responsibilities of life. And then maybe there's something happening relationally where it's like, oh, we've hit this. But I love the fact that you have recognized in yourself when you're reaching that point that, whoa, I need to hit pause.
Yes.
Right? And that's good because what that says is I don't want this to escalate to a point that it's going to kind of turn into something that's not helpful.
Yes.
And as an individual, I need to kind of know when I'm at that point, when I need to tell my spouse I'm at that point, and how I maybe need to kind of, reset, right? And the point is come back around,
yes,
right?
Absolutely.
There's some great work by Dr. John Gottman in this area as relates to couples conflict. And sometimes it is, hit the pause button. That's okay, so that you can kind of gather yourself and come back around. You don't avoid it and like keep it unfinished, but you give yourself that opportunity to recalibrate so you can cup. And another thing you said, I love this as a therapist, is how you talked about your eye language. Like you come back around and say, I was feeling this.
Yes.
I'm thinking this. I was experiencing this. Because it's so easy in conflict to just start firing the yous.
Oh my gosh.
You did this. You didn't do this. You're supposed to,
point.
right? And then we just find it just backfires and
Yes.
creates defensiveness. So yeah, good on you for seeing those things and recognizing it and knowing clarity. And for you, CJ, to say, hey, when she says that to you, that you honor that. It's never helpful for a spouse to track them down.
No.
Sure.
Like, okay, if your spouse has said time out, honor that. Because otherwise it's going to escalate and it'll backfire.
It has never ended well. And I think that's, just a testament to our marriage and time together, because we haven't always been this way, right? We were, 22 and 24 when we got married.
Yeah, babies.
And so, yes, so we didn't, this is a culmination of wisdom and discernment from, years of being married. So it wasn't always like this. There was a point where we were just going at each other all of the time until we learned, like, what is the end goal? To be Christ honoring, to love each other well, to enjoy the time we have, because it's short. No one knows the day or the hour, right?
That's right.
And so to really enjoy life together, and that's what we learned. It was important for us to do that work early once we realized, okay, this is not a healthy way to respond. We need to figure something out, and so that works for us.
That's good.
Same thing for CJ. He'll tell me, hey, I can't talk about this right now.
Good.
And obviously there are times where you can't avoid a conversation. But what I found is that most of the time you can come back to it. It's not it's not emergent. You will be okay.
Yes.
You can put a pin in it and come back.
Well said.
That's good.
And sometimes we have to also just be willing to look at the fact that, there may have been some patterns even from our family of origin that could have kind of shaped the way we handle conflict. And sometimes those could be helpful patterns, but maybe sometimes they're not. And because we are creatures of habit, we may realize, okay, maybe I'm kind of responding the way I saw my mom. Love mom, but maybe this is not helpful for me to kind of respond this way, right? That maybe when I'm upset, I'm really raising my voice, and learning to see that, not in a place of shame, but hey, I can redirect this.
Right.
I can do something different to help myself and to help, my relationship. So I know we're getting close to the end of time. I want to ask just a couple more questions. One just has to do with this part about being parents, because you do have these beautiful girls that you gave the shout out to as well. You talked a little bit about how you model in front of them. But I also just maybe want to give something to our listeners who are in the parenting phase. Parenting phase of married life has shown to be one of the most challenging for marriage. Parenting is beautiful, but it also takes a lot. And sometimes it makes it easy to put the relationship of marriage on the back burner as you're raising kids. But that's not always helpful, because we are supposed to raise kids with the end in mind, meaning that one day they need to move on and form their own lives outside of our home. And if we neglect the marriage in the midst of the parenting, it'll show itself. So I'm just curious for our listeners, just anything you might do to encourage people when they are in the parenting. How do you still think about how to nurture your marriage?
Yeah. I'll start this one first, babe. Intentionality. We've mentioned this word quite a few times over the course of this podcast. It's a good word. But you have to be intentional, purposeful when it comes to our marriage, because our children do get our time, our energy, our efforts, everything. We want to make sure that they're well taken care of. But in the meantime, we don't want to lose the focus of this connection, And so I never looked at it as a balance for us. Heidi, it's more of a rhythm. God gives us the grace for the rhythm in the season of life that we're in, especially with my wife and I doing ministry. Our girls, Olivia, Joy, and Harper Love, know that ministry will never come before them. You know, speaking of rapping, I say, you know, I have leftovers for the fridge, not for my kids, you know.
I love that.
And so, but ministry will never come before them, but also we're not going to hide them from ministry. We're going to let them, this is what mommy and daddy do. And you guys are very much a part of this. But we want to make sure we keep this
Yeah.
while still being effective parents to our girls and mom and dad. So it takes a lot of intentionality. For me, that looks like, you know, hey, I'm taking the girls to the park today. We go on daddy-daughter dates. And the girls can tell you, so when I say daddy-daughter dates, it's Olive Garden.
That's their pick.
That's the pick.
The breadsticks.
Yep, the breadsticks, the never-ending salads, and we go to Olive Garden. We go on playground tours. We go to different playgrounds. So it's making sure that I have the time with them, but also that gives mom time to rest,
To have a break.
to have a break, to
Good.
recover, to not have to worry about answering a million questions, because, you know, moms are the default parent, and they'll go right past me. I'm fully available, ready and willing to help.
But
to
straight to mom.
Straight to mom. You know, straight to mom. So that's what it looks like for me on my end.
I think
love
that's been one of the biggest benefits to our marriage in this season of parenting, is knowing that neither one of us are in it alone. While I might be the, you know, default parent, but CJ does not give our girls the option. He's not asking them like, hey, what do you feel like? When he says it's a daddy-daughter date, or if he says your mom needs 5 minutes, do not let me see you by that door, they know he is not playing. Like,
Right.
he is like, I'm your only option now, and you better get with it. And they love him. You know, but he is just, he can read me, and he's like, oh, you need some time.
You need that.
Let me take them, or let me, you know, and not that he's with us all the time and whatever, but it's just those extra moments where he can see, okay, you've been doing all of these things.
Right.
Let me give you just a few minutes to breathe. And then just being, sometimes I tell our girls, I'm like, hey, I want to hang out with your dad. Please.
Yes.
Close your eyes and go to bed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good for
We
you.
want to watch a movie without y'all. All right. And eat snacks. And when you're old and you work all day, you can also do this. You know,
Yes.
they always give us a hard time and say, you guys just have fun when we go to bed. That's right. We
Yeah.
earned it. We are going to eat Hershey's cookies and cream drops and watch TV.
And have a night of
Yes.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But good for you. And you're modeling something beautiful for your girls.
Yes.
You know, that if they marry someday, they're seeing that you make your marriage a priority.
Yes.
Right.
And that's wonderful. You
Yeah.
know, keep building your love story,
Yes.
even in the parenting. Okay, so this is kind of our, you know, question I always love to wrap up with my guest as we think about a relationship podcast, Love That Lasts, building something to really go the long way, right, for marriage. As you think about just ending this time together today, which has just been a beautiful conversation, what would you give to our listeners as some encouragement related to just how to practically continue to think about building their own love story as followers of Jesus and creating a love that lasts?
My advice and challenge really is for the wives. I believe that God has uniquely designed each and every one of us, and that marriage is not the time for us as wives to put that little part of us, the creativity, the spunk, in a box and never let it come out. God has greatly destined us to be with the spouse that he has put us with, and it was because of the characteristics and the spiciness and the glitter that he gave me that makes me an excellent spouse to CJ. But not to forget that, to remember that those things, when you ask God for wisdom and discernment and how to use it, can be so beneficial to your marriage that you don't have to change who God has created you to be. Even 18 years in as being together, I still have to remind myself that there's nothing that I need to change as far as what God has equipped me with to
Right.
fit into the box that CJ needs, because he already gave me to him. I'm already what he needs. I can always be better, right? But I am uniquely created for him, and not to forget that.
That is really good, babe.
That's beautiful.
That's really, really good. Really good.
Can you top that, CJ, as a closing?
Absolutely not. Yeah, the wisdom oozes
It
from the
certainly
woman
does.
to my right. Yes, ma'am. Just something I can share, you know, for the couples out there. I know she spoke to the wives. I can speak to the husband side. You know, being a husband is an honor. The fact that God trusts me with his daughter to steward her well, to lead our family well as the priest of our household, but to also make sure that I am hearing from the Lord, you know, to make sure that, you know, God, where are you leading our family in this season of our lives? You know, a lot of times we can become so consumed as men with provision, making sure that our kids have all the necessary things they need. Our wives are well taken care of, as we should take care of our wives and our children, but also spending quality time with the Lord, myself, making sure that I'm hearing from the Lord clearly and where he's leading our family in this season of life, so that I don't mismanage of stewarding my family, my wife and my children well. And so that's a very big thing for me that I can leave. And I'll say this, and I end with this, you know, thinking of going back to our marriage vows, we said I do. And when we said I do, we committed to do everything that it takes for a love that lasts, you know.
Absolutely.
And even, you know, I think about human beings. There are times, even as a husband, I don't feel loving. I don't feel compassionate. I don't feel kind. I don't feel caring. I can still be these things, you know, and it's not fake, fabricated, or fraud, but I can still be these things. My wife needs me to be these things. And, you know, and that's where God gives us the grace. Again, we prayed earlier, not only the grace, his grace that saved us, but his grace that sustains us.
Absolutely.
And this, I tell people all the time, our marriage is a work in progress. We're under construction. We're learning and we're building. And as I end with this little wisdom, the enemy always wants to attack something that's being built by men and women of God. He wants to attack a godly marriage. He wants to knock that down and destroy that however he can. And that's why God gave us a partner, a spouse, a wife, a husband to be able to do life with. And as we build, as Nehemiah built, you know, in the book of Nehemiah, 52 days, but it took a village. But the enemy will do anything he can to try to attack and destroy what God is building. But for me as a husband, to make sure that I'm hearing from the Lord clearly and I'm seeking the Lord on my face and making sure that I can protect and provide. God always give me the grace to do that. But to know that we're building something special and we're only building it by the grace of God.
Absolutely.
Wow. That is beautiful, right? So much, again, that intentionality. But again, kind of as we think about your last name, Luckey, and this episode, Lucky in Love, right? It is all about, I can tell how you are positioning your hearts and your minds as followers of Jesus, showing that in your marriage and your parenting. Be willing to acknowledge the places that are tough and hard and need refinement, but continuing to build something, right? As you do this. And it really is a story worth telling. I am so delighted. I can't tell you enough how much this time together has meant to me, how much I know it will mean to our listeners. So as we sign off, CJ and Sam, keep building that love story. You've got a beautiful one. And to our listeners, may the things that were shared today be something that inspire you, grow you, encourage you as you seek to build a love that lasts.